Right, sorry about that, the video cut off for some reason. Right, so other than that, you got your, like I said, you got your screen that comes down from the top there as and when you need it. You got a really nice wide angle reversing camera there, so you can really get right up close to things as and when you need it. You're not going to need that all the time, obviously, but you know, that's up to you. You've also got, it's a dual camera, so if you wanted to use it as like a rear view mirror, you know, so that you can see directly behind you all the time when you're driving, you can leave it on there as well. That's up to you. All right, it's a touch screen. Press the button there and it'll come on like that. All right, that should turn off as well when you've got the ignition on, off, sorry, and it does. So, like I said, being a Mercedes 616 chassis, you have got the air brakes. So if I just show you, foot on the brake there, release that then releases the air to all of your sort of like handbrake shoes and bits like that. I'm not sure exactly how, you know, I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know exactly how it works, but all I know is that this is basically your handbrake. Lift up on the little tab at the bottom, push it back, and then you'll feel it on the brake pedal. You can then let go of the brake and then you won't move. So that's your air brake system. Obviously you release that before you be able to put it into any gears or anything like that and pull away. But once you have done that, over to the right, put it all the way down to D for drive, up one for neutral, so that's at your traffic lights, up one more for reverse, and then over and up back again for the park. Obviously, when you want to turn the engine off and stop properly, it needs to be up in park and the handbrake needs to be on. All right. Every once in a while, just so that you know as well, you will get a noise from the brakes just literally when you're driving at any random point. That's basically just it kind of keeping up the pressure and releasing pressure, things like that. It just does it all on its own. You don't have to worry about anything on it at all. You've also got air conditioning, which works on this bottom switch just here. And all of your sort of your fan speed setting, temperature, all that sort of stuff. It's all original Mercedes stuff. 12-volt socket just there if you should need it. Like I said to you in the video, the bonnet release cable is just down there. But yeah, the only other thing I wanted to show you, which again we found out quite recently, is that these seats, as you can see, actually go, like you can like raise them and lower them. So if I pulled on this little lever here and sort of pushed on the seat forwards, the whole seat comes down about, well, you can see where it stops down here. So where I'm sat at the moment is all the way in the down position, but you can literally raise and lower the seat as and when you want to as well. So if you wanted to twist them round even after you've lifted the floor up, you can do that, and then it makes it a much more sort of usable height for when you turn the seats around. So that's all there if you should want to use that. I will now show you, because I want to show you the cab. It does take a little while. It can be a little bit sort of boring to watch. And you can see there how much higher that left hand seat is to the right, so you can do that with the right hand seat as well. But yeah, so I'm literally just pushing up on this button here, and I'll just show you, we're just here, by the way, just above the fridge. Push and hold on that button, and you can probably see there, cab is raising right up. And I'll just carry on doing that just for a minute. So I'm just holding on that left hand switch just there. Still going. And you can see there the floor is just about coming to level with the actual main floor that we're stood on now. So basically the idea is that that's where you'd have it all the way up when you're going to use the vehicle, and then you basically get an extra kind of, you know, an extra metre or so of space. So yeah, it's just, you know, fantastic really. So now you can see with that seat upright like that, it's actually now level with the other seats. So it makes it much more usable. So that's that. You've also got, what else have we got? I was going to show you. I'll just shut this window, it's getting a bit windy now. A few other things I wanted to show you. So you've got a light switch just here above the TV. All of your Audi system is up here, but I'll get to that in just a minute. What I wanted to show you first, whilst we're still sort of on the topic of the cab and the water and all that sort of stuff, You've got two light switches just here at the bottom, completely not to do with what I'm talking about now, but this little switch here, all right, so you know, like outside where I was saying, the little twist knob down there, just sort of on the near side there at the front. I'm not sure if I explained it very well. Basically, if you start the engine up and start driving the vehicle, obviously your engine coolant starts to heat up, and that's what the temperature reads on the cab. The only difference is with this one, this Concorde, because they're so, you know, meticulous in how they design things, they've actually made it so that when you drive, as long as that little dial down there is how it is now in the on position and not switched off, that warm coolant and all that sort of stuff basically just continues around this entire vehicle. And as you've got normal gas heating and your wet central heating, which I'll get to in a minute, you basically get warm air pumping through the van, through the little radiators and things that are dotted around. There's all of these little gaps behind, you know, behind seats, behind things. You got these little lines here, so heat will come out through here. Basically, you just get warm air pumping around the entire vehicle, so that when you eventually turn the vehicle off, when you get to where you're going, the entire van is nice and warm. So it's something that I had no idea about, but that is, you know, that is a thing. We got told that by the guy that did your habitation check. Like I said, you know, he's a proper specialist and he's known these things for absolutely years. So literally, start the engine up and drive it for a little while. If you leave that little dial down there in your outside locker on, when you get to where you're going, the van will be nice and warm. So the other thing is, this little button in here, it's all related to that, which is why I'm telling you now. This little button in here, if you turn that on, you'll hear a very, very slight whirring noise. And I had no idea what it was at first. But the same guy that did your habitation check told us that basically, if you were, just absolutely for example, if you were taking this van to, I don't know, the Alps, and it was absolutely freezing cold, or like -degrees, whatever. If you wanted to warm the engine bay up and warm the engine up a little bit before you start it up, because, you know, big heavy diesel engines like this can struggle to start up in the freezing cold. This button here basically warms the engine bay up before you start the engine. So that's, you know, obviously really, really cool, but it's also really important that you do not leave this on when your engine is running. This is purely just to heat the engine up before you start it up. Okay, if you leave that on with the engine running, you know, it'll probably overheat because it's trying to heat it up whilst it's already heated. Okay, so this is only for if you're absolutely in freezing cold weather, you want to warm the engine bay up first and then start it up. Make sure that you turn this off when you start the engine. Okay, but I just thought I'd mention that to you. Like I said to you, I've never heard of that before, but that is what that is. So you've got two 240-volt sockets there, and then your Audi system up here. So as long as your gas is on, which if I just show you now first, before we do that, sorry, I never keep showing you that and not actually showing you how it works. All of your gas stuff is over here, all right? So obviously, like I said, you've got the bottles down here behind here, or you've got the actual tank down there, which you can isolate both as well. So obviously the bottle will have an on and off on the top, and I showed you where the on and off was on the tank. But if you want to use them from in here, you can also do that. So you can actually leave the bottle on, or, you know, leave the tanks on or whatever, and then just basically use them, isolate them from here. So there's a little green box, it's sort of attached to the side of the regulator, basically, on both of the gas bottles and on the underslung tank. So you see this one here says gas tank. It's on at the moment. You've got a little orange bit at the top. So basically the gas tank is supplying gas to the vehicle now. If there was a gas bottle in the locker and the gas bottle was turned on, you could use that one and use the gas in the vehicle from the gas bottle and then turn the gas tank one off. All right, so that's up to you. Before you start driving, I would always advise you to turn both of these off, because the reason they give you those things is so that you can use them as like crash sensors, basically. So if you crash the vehicle, you want these both to be off, obviously, because then you will stop any gas coming into the vehicle. All right, so before you start driving, turn both of these off, but for the most part, I would imagine you're probably going to want to use the gas tank. All right, so we'll leave that one on for now. If you want to test the level in the gas tank, your underslung tank that is, press the button there, and then this little thing here will tell you what the level is inside the tank. So you've got about half a tank of gas, which, by the way, is quite a lot. Oh, over half a tank, look. So you've got quite a lot of gas in here. I mean, you know, it's that, oh, it might even be full, you know, I don't know. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how big they are, the underslung tanks, but I think there's something like, I mean, a normal propane bottle is about 6 kilo. I'm sure these ones are more like sort of 12 or 13 or something like that, maybe even bigger than that, I'm not sure. But that amount of gas will last you a hell of a long time, I promise. So that's how you can check that. You can switch that off from that button just there. The one above that is your frost air, so that's your Truma air conditioning unit. It's basically that's not a button, it's basically like you have to aim the remote at it, I think. So you can just basically just use that directly from here. So yeah, you should be able to, if I thinking off the top of my head, should be able to switch that on. So that's your inverter, and then I might be able to use that perhaps. Yeah, there you go. Thought that might work. So the Truma frost air is mains powered, all right? So that's that up there, like I said. That won't work unless you've got mains power in the vehicle. So because I've not got a hookup plugged into the vehicle now, I've just turned on this Mobitronic thing, like I told you before, which is your inverter. And now it's coming through nice and cold. So how easy is that? If you don't have access to a hookup cable, pop that on there, and then you'll be able to use it because you've got 240 volt power there. Right, so what I will tell you is, so you see there already, 13 volts, by the way, is still a really good battery voltage. So you can only ever worry about a voltage unless it goes sort of below about 11 usually. But the longer that you use this aircon unit, when there's nothing, I mean, obviously the solar panel is charging it up, but because there's no hookup cable in here directly charging the leisure batteries, you can't just leave that on forever on your inverter, all right? But if you do want to use that, you can do. That's what it's there for, all right? So if I turn this off now, the frost air will turn itself off because there's no power going to it, all right? But like I said, if you had a hookup cable plugged into the vehicle, this would also still work, all right? But basically, to switch the actual frost air off, on and off button on here, you've also got fan, comfort on there. You can set the fan level like that. Yeah, it's all pretty simple stuff. But if you want to turn it off, aim it towards that and just press the on and off button like that. And that goes off, and then I think there you go. You can hear there it's just turning itself off now. All right, so you can put that back there. So extremely high tech, as you can imagine. You know, 2005, I mean, this vehicle is unbelievably good. You know, the condition of it is just unbelievable. But you got to remember, it's 2005, so all of this sort of stuff would have been, you know, unheard of, really. And it still is now, really. Like I said to you, a lot of the stuff that I've shown you already, I've never seen before, even on brand new vehicles. So, yeah, anyway, went on a bit. So I'll turn this one off now because that's your inverter. So that turns off all the converted 240 volt power from 12 volt. That turns that off. Okay. So, but I just thought I'd show you, you can use your aircon unit without a hookup plugged in if you use that button just there, if you want to. Okay, so now that I've chosen gas tank as the gas to supply the vehicle, I can then come over here and use the heating system. So if you had a hookup plugged into the vehicle, you could either choose 1, 2 or 3 electric. So 3 electric is a little bit over the top. You don't need to use that. It's a bit too much power, really. It draws something like 12 amps and that's sort of ridiculous. You don't need that much power going through it. I would advise you to leave it on 1 or 2. If you're going to use it on electric, just leave it on 1 or 2. If you want to use it on gas, switch this little one here in the middle up, and then choose on this little one here what you want the heating to do. So at the moment, it's literally just facing this little tap symbol. So at the moment, it's just going to heat the water up. Next one up is heating and hot water. And the last one here is heating only. Okay, so if I left it up here, it's on heating only, and it's going to be using gas only. So after, I don't know, half an hour or so, the water inside the Audi system, which is in here, got a little bit there, tells you the level. That water basically just starts pumping around the vehicle, and then through all of these little vents dotted around the vehicle, you'll then get warm air coming up because the heating is working and basically pumping warm water around to the radiators. Okay, there'll be a radiator in pretty much anywhere you can see. So all these little vents at the bottom, they're all little vents for the radiators. So that's how the heating system works. I believe, if I remember rightly, the fluid had to be changed or topped up at least. I can't remember which one, but that's all been done. It's all been checked properly by a proper Audi system sort of engineer. So yeah, that's all there, all working exactly how it should. So I hope that makes sense. Like I said, heating at the top, one down is heating and hot water, and all the way to the bottom is hot water only. If you want to turn the entire system off, just make sure that both of these two are down in the down position. Okay, so that's your heating and hot water. Like I said to you, it's only sort of personal preference, but for example, the reason that I say you shouldn't really use the top one, if you were in a campsite and you had a hookup plugged into the vehicle, that hookup cable might be rated at about 13 amps, all right? So you could, in theory, use it on the 3 and then draw about 12 amps. But once you've drawn those 12 amps, you've then only got 1 amp to actually use anywhere else before you'll trip the cable. So basically, if you had that on 3 and it was drawing 12 amps from that, and then you plugged a kettle in here, there's no way it would be able to handle it. The cable would just trip whatever it's plugged into. But if you used it on 1 or 2, you'd be drawing a maximum of about 7 amps. And then if you were plugged into a 13 amp pole, you'd have about 7 amps to play with, 6 amps. So, you know, it's up to you really, but I'd only ever use that if there was nothing else plugged in and you were in a real hurry. The gas really is the best way to use it. But yeah, it's up to you. So, I've shown you all of that. I've shown you how to use your tap, and I'll show you all that bits and pieces like that. Your cooker down here, you've got a ignition switch just here. So that just does the ignition for all 3 of these burners. I don't need to show you how to use this because, you know, it's just the same as any household one, but basically you just push in and around to the left whilst pressing the igniter and it will light up. You've got a thermocouple on the back of each of these. What a thermocouple does is it senses burning gas. So if you lit any of these up, the thermocouple will allow the gas flame to carry on. But if something blew the flame out and you still had this on allowing gas through, the thermocouple will recognise that after a certain amount of time and it'll stop that gas from coming through anymore. All right, so they've all got one of those. In fact, every gas appliance in this entire vehicle has got one and works. Right, down here, got your oven, or oven and grill, sorry. And again, because it's a Concorde, it's got absolutely every extra possible. And you've got the rotisserie, which does make a right racket, but that is just how they are. And the light, which, by the way, not many of them have either of these two. Grill, you just push in and to the right, and it will light up. Oven, in, around to the left, and it will light up. And that's it. It's simple stuff. It does tell you there, push in and to the right for the grill, push in to the left for the oven. I've got a little diagram here which tells you what gas mark to use for what food, but, you know, it's up to you. A lot of people, to be fair to you, don't really tend to use these very often, but it's, you know, it's great if you can. just see if there's anything else. Okay, so you've got 4 gas isolator taps here. So this one's for your fridge, your Aldi system, cooker, and your oven and grill. So if you wanted to isolate anything, you can do it so from here, just turn it 90 degrees and it will isolate any gas coming through to that appliance. Okay, under this here, I am going to paint this in a little while, by the way, just so that you know. You've got access to your tanks, so if you want to clean either of these two out, you can do. Nice and easy to get to. That's why they have this big bit of the floor out. The fridge, so it's a 3-way fridge, but it's also an AES fridge. So that's what it says there, automatic energy selector. So what that does is basically, if you I don't know what's the easiest way to explain it. If you put it all the way down to auto, it'll automatically choose one way to use the fridge. So it'll probably choose gas. There you go. So you've left it on auto, you've got a green light on auto and a little amber light in front of gas. So it's just lit itself up on gas. All right, so basically, if you put it on auto, it'll automatically choose the best energy to use it on and it'll just do it. So you can do that if you want to, but it's just as easy to do it manually. If you want to light it up on gas, which will take the fridge a good couple of hours to get cold, turn to the right and it will light up on gas. That's literally it. If you have a hookup plugged into the vehicle, choose 240 volts. It's red at the moment because there's no cable plugged in, obviously. And if your engine was running, you'd go all the way down to the bottom to the 12 volt. Again, red because the engine's not running. And then so it would basically just carry on cooling after you've started the engine. Now the reason you've got a 12 volt thing on there that you need to use when the engine's running is because obviously you can't have a hookup plugged into the vehicle whilst you're driving. And you also can't have your gas on whilst you're driving. Well, you can, but you shouldn't. So that's why that's there. I'll just quickly explain to you as well. When your engine's running, you've got something called a split charge relay. So you've got power going to your engine battery from the alternator, and then directly through to the ledgers at the back via a D+ signal. On the D+ signal, about halfway, you've got the fridge. And so when you start the engine up, you've got power there at your 12 volt. And yeah, that's how that works, basically. Allow a good couple of hours, like I said, for either gas or 240 volt to get the fridge cold. And then just switch over to the 12 volt only for when your engine's running. The 12 volt won't get the fridge cold on its own. It already has to be cold first, either via the gas or the 240 volt. Okay? That doesn't mean there's a problem with the fridge. It just means that's just how they all are. Not even just these fridges, just all motorhome fridges are exactly the same. You need to make sure that you have it cold first before you change over to 12 volt. Okay, so further towards the back, we've got your bathroom. Light switch for the bathroom is that one just there. It's all pretty simple stuff. You've got a whacking great big shower in here. You don't, this is a really, really good sized shower room. It's normally much, much smaller than this. So that's there. Your sink, again, I don't need to show you how that works. It's the same as any other sink, but you've got hot to the left, cold to the right. The only thing I will need to show you in here is that your toilet system is like a kind of, you haven't got to do anything difficult, but it's kind of like a macerator toilet, if you like. So it kind of fills itself up, drains itself out, all that sort of stuff. So all you need to know is that you've got your toilet waste level indicator, which obviously we've just emptied out. Press that button there, it shows you the level. It's completely empty. It would shine up there with red if it was full. And by the way, it took about 5 minutes of constantly pouring out for it to actually empty. So, it's a big tank. So you don't need to worry about emptying that all the time. And like you said, you can keep your eye on the level on it there anyway. Before you use the toilet, it does say on there before use and after use. But before you use the toilet, push and hold on this button until it stops. Like that. That basically just primes the toilet, ready for you to use it. So now you can use the toilet. And then once you have done your toilet, you can press the after use button and it will basically just drain it out. And then after about, I don't know, 20 seconds or so, I think, you will get like a crunching macerator noise. That's just, you know, as you probably know what a macerator is. So that's all that is. Let's just wait for that a second. I just want you to be able to hear it is all. So. There you go. So that's the noise you need to listen out for. That's just basically telling you that it's working. And that's it. That's all done. So that's press that button there before, press that button after. That's it. And then just keep your eye on the level for the waste on your toilet. So, you know, some people get a little bit worried about, you know, a little bit scared about the idea of an onboard waste toilet tank, but it's really not that big of a deal. It actually just means that you don't have to empty the toilet out half as often. So, back here, obviously, you've got your absolutely humongous double bed. Step to get up there is here. You can also put bits and pieces in there. It's used as a bin at the moment, so that's up to you. Storage down there if you should need it, probably for shoes and things, I'd imagine. And the back of your Audi heating and hot water system is here. So, but like I say, you haven't got to worry about any of that. You can just leave that exactly as it is. It's all been serviced properly. So yeah. So I'm just trying to be really thorough and just trying to think of anything else that I could show you. Obviously there's light switches around the vehicle for all of the individual lights. There is also as well, just in case you weren't aware, there are lights inside here in this skylight, and I'll just show you. I'm not exactly sure why the switch is back here, I must admit. But you see that top button there? When I turn that off, see? So I'm not sure why the button's there exactly, but it is. So if you want to use those lights there, which are really, really nice, you can do that. The bed over the cab, you need to have these seats laid out forwards a little bit, but literally just pull down on this thing here and it'll lay out really, really nice and strong. The beds, what else can I show you? Just trying to think if there's anything else. If the solar panels are working, you'll see this little symbol in here. Yeah, I mean, 13.2 volts on a resting battery. Well, I suppose there's power going into it from the solar panel, but basically 13.2 volts on a battery with no hookup cable and no charger charging it up is amazing, really. It's so good. But yeah, that's about all I can show you, I think. I don't know if there's a huge amount else for me to run you through. If there's anything else you think that I've missed out or anything you want going through again, please just let us know. But yeah, lovely van. We haven't had to do much to it at all, apart from obviously get it to the proper people to get all the work done to it. Mercedes for the service, Adams Moray, the Fiat specialist, to do the MOT, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, just let us know if there's anything else you want us to go through or anything you think I've missed out. And other than that, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.